we wanted to talk to Courtney and talk a little bit about what goes into the Kids Scavenger Hunt, why it's so popular, and just another thing that's offered in the Shipshewana Card Fest. So, with that, we'll bring Courtney in and we'll talk a little bit of Kids Scavenger Hunt and collectibles.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for joining
I'm
us.
good. Thanks for having me.
I know. So, tell us how did you get started really in cards before we really dive into the Shipshewana Card Fest? Tell us a little bit about Reckless Cards.
Okay, well, I grew up collecting cards my whole life. Jeremy also collected cards. Jeremy's my husband. And we kind of continued that on with our kids and our family. I started collecting Chicago Bears because that was my favorite team. I actually still have the first card I ever pulled out of a pack that I kept, which was a Mike Singletary card because I loved the Bears, obviously. And then, we just kind of have grown from there. I personally collect cards of people who are true crime. That is something that's my passion, and as a family we collect Bulls cards. Obviously, a lot of people know we collect Patrick Williams pretty heavily. My favorite card that I ever got at a show was we picked up a Michael Jordan autograph also. So that was very cool. And it's kind of just, we still collect. We've been a little slower on social media. We used to be on Instagram all the time, lives. We had a couple shows. I had a podcast for my husband. Jeremy calls them my murder cards, but I collect they're not all murder cards. Some of them are like this. Like I have this guy. He's sitting. I'm in my office. He was a jewelry. He did a jewelry heist. So, and he also played. He played baseball professionally for Minneapolis. So, it's just it's kind of fun. It's interesting. The stories are cool, and that's how I got started in it, I guess.
Courtney, on this show, you should know we have a 3 Jeremy limit. So we're at our limit tonight. We've got Jeremy Guy coming up. We've got your husband and myself. So we're okay tonight, but we can't let any more Jeremys in.
Jeremy is a good name. I've never met a Jeremy I didn't like. So
fair enough.
Here we go. Fair enough. So being from Michigan, how did you end up in Shipshewana, Indiana? Give us a story on that.
So it's actually a really funny story. My daughter wasn't super into collecting like my son was. So we started making TikToks and she thought it was super fun. And Jeremy was like, we were talking about potentially setting up at a show. Like I said, we've collected our whole life, but we had never set up at a show before. And he was like, hey, Shipshewana. He's like, I saw an advertisement for this. He's like, it's, it was small, but it's getting bigger. And he's like, it looks like there might be space. So I reached out to Brad and I'm like, hey, I know that you guys are like, whatever. I'm like, is there any way, that you could fit us in? And he's like, yeah, I have he's like, I got one spot left I could put you in. It was like a really good spot. I don't think he thought it was going to be, but I loved it. And we stayed there the whole time they were in the barn and it was great. But we made a silly video for that we were going to the show and everybody liked it. So then now every time we go to the show, we make another stupid video. and it was so much fun. And the kids had such a good time at the show. And they were spoiled because my kids, the first card show they ever went to was the National, and then they went to Shipshewana. So they had this very not realistic idea of what a card show was like because neither of those shows are like typical card shows.
And from there, you started a scavenger hunt with kids,
yes.
which has turned into really one of the biggest events. I know the show is the show, but this scavenger hunt really brings a lot of kids.
I actually like to say, and I think it's true, that it's the biggest like non-sponsored kids event that the hobby does. I don't know another one that's bigger. Like that isn't funded by like Tops or Fanatics or someone. This is just the community coming together and making it what it is. And it is, oh, there's my kids. That is like, it's huge. We do 400 packs typically. And, these kids, We know them all. I recognize them. They come up with their prizes that they won the year before. I had a little boy. He knows that we collect the new rookie every year for the bowls. And so he came up to me one year with like, he had a Kobe White card. It was a prism and he was super excited about it. And it was just like, it was so sweet. There's been so many times where I've seen these children just act genuinely, you know, we started it with the idea of making an event for kids that they would enjoy, but also kind of teaching these kids how to be the kind of collectors that we want to see grow in the hobby someday. You know, thoughtful, considerate, kind. We always start the scavenger hunt by telling all the kids like, hey, you know, make sure that you're not interrupting a deal. Make sure you're not putting your cases on the dealer's cases. Make sure you wait your turn. Make sure you're polite. Make sure you say thank you to all the vendors that are doing this for us. Because sometimes, you know, you have to help teach the next generation about card show etiquette and what is and is not acceptable at a show. And I think having something that they do every single show where they know the rules, they know how they're supposed to behave, that really instills in them that like the values that we all see, you know. And then they rip their packs or they get their cards and then they sit and they trade and they're so excited about it. And it's so much fun to watch.
Really terrific stuff, Courtney. Shipshewana is an enormous show. It's 500 tables, lots of kids doing the scavenger hunt. It can be overwhelming for adults. So what advice do you have for people that may be coming in for their first show or first couple of shows? How can they navigate the scavenger hunt, and what advice would you give them to get in on it?
So we've worked really hard over the last several years to make it less overwhelming. As it's grown bigger, Brad has given the kids area its own section. When we first started, you know, we would be inundated with kids waiting because, you know, we used to start it from like the second the show started until it ended. But it got so big that I just couldn't. It was overwhelming for not only the kids and people there, but for myself. So we, you know, it's like 10 to 1 or whatever. I don't know what the hours are. They change depending on, because the show's hours sometimes change. So it's always like about an hour to after the show starts to like 1 o'clock. So you definitely want to be there. I always say be there like in the morning, because you never want to like, it's while supplies last. So, you know, you don't want your kid to miss out on it. But they have big stop signs on the floor, like giant ones at each of the spots where you're going to stop. So even the smallest kids can do the scavenger hunt. My girls are 7 and 8, and last year they were 6 and 7, and they did the scavenger hunt all by themselves. So there's stop signs like right there. That is the stop signs that are going to be on the floor. That was perfect timing. They put those out so you can find them. All the vendors, you know, they're super willing to help. They all have signs up for the most part. So like their logo is on the card that you're holding in your hand, and then they have their logos up on their booths. So we have done everything we can to make it, you know, easier for the kids to be able to find who they're looking for. But you know, part of the fun of a scavenger hunt is if it's too easy, then it's, you know, it's not really as much fun. So
Fantastic stuff, Courtney. We really appreciate it. We appreciate everything that you do with this. We can't wait to be in Shipshewana. I know that you'll be busy, but the Kids Scavenger Hunt lives on, and hopefully we can bring that to some of our shows here eventually as well. And again, we appreciate it. Thank you very much for talking to us and letting us know.
thank you. Appreciate you
All
guys.
right.
Thanks,
We'll
Courtney.
see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.